Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman.
And hello, everybody. I'm so grateful to have you here. We've got another incredible show today. I mean, I am just so honored. I feel so privileged. I just feel so much joy to have our guest today. Truly, and we had Alan on, your husband already, your partner. But now to have a chance to be with you, Dianne, today, this is really amazing.
Thank you so much, Dan. And it's amazing for me too. And I listened to, I've listened to a lot of your shows, which are phenomenal because of you. And flattery will get you everywhere, right? But that's not, I mean it sincerely. I find that your conversations are very intriguing and enlightening, of course. But I listened to the show with Alan and I just love it. And so I'm inviting everyone to listen to your show with Dianne Collins. It was really good.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I love that feedback. And so we're gonna, from the person who came up with QuantumThink, your very self, so to speak, or from the cosmos, or however we want to look at it, came through you. I'm so grateful to have you on today. And we're gonna be talking a little bit of QuantumThink for sure. So much to talk about there. But we're also definitely going to talk about mastery. We're going to talk about money. That it really is about money. We're going to talk about whatever comes through. We've got a little bit of a plan, a little bit of an outline here, but also we're going to be going with the flow of what comes through today. And I'm just so grateful to do that together with you today, Dianne. But before we move forward, two things. Number one, everybody, yes, this is an awesome show. It's a fun show. You want to be a part of it. So go ahead and hit subscribe. Go ahead and rate and review whatever platform you're listening in on. And we love to hear from you. So go ahead and do that so you can get show after show like Dianne is and continue to gain from it. If you're loving the energy here, definitely do so. So the second thing is I want to tell you about Dianne. Now, Dianne Collins is the creator of the groundbreaking system of thinking. And it's amazing, QuantumThink. And an 8-time award-winning author of bestseller, You QuantumThink, New Thinking That Will Rock Your World, considered a must-read for our changing times. She is a highly acclaimed leader of new consciousness, popular media personality, and strategic consultant to executives and major corporations. QuantumThink is a mastery practice, 21 principles where Dianne blends scientific insight and spiritual knowledge into practical wisdom to create real solutions for our modern lives, from inner serenity and relationships to business results and global affairs. Dianne is known for her lively, upbeat style and ability to express complex universal subjects in clear and powerful ways that benefit people instantly. She's been interviewed hundreds of times on radio and TV, including Coast to Coast, and was a featured blogger on the Huffington Post and invited to present in the prestigious lecture series of Florida International University's program in the study of spirituality, featuring distinguished speakers, including His Holiness the Dalai Lama. There's so much more about Dianne to share. She's got the Master Your Mind, Master Your Life, video mastery course, class and whatnot. There's much more here to share. But the bottom line is you're going to really understand how insightful Dianne is, and that insight is going to wake up inside of you as we go a journey here together. So she's definitely going to help you make a quantum leap that will help you to go from personal mastery into a collective harmonic with what's wanting to happen during this quantum age. So let's just go ahead and start diving into it from there, Dianne. I've been reading, of course, the book QuantumThink, and as as I was asked to. I've been reading it slowly, so I'm still not nearly done, not complete. In fact, I haven't even done some of the exercises that I was asked to do yet. So I'm going to continue to go slowly with it and go ahead and
Okay.
take it in, all its deliciousness even more. And the thing about it is again, just I've been telling Alan, I've been talking to you about it. It's just amazing. I'm just so for what you're sharing. And then the other thing is that is certainly exactly what is needed during this time, and it's just so well written and so well transmitted as you as a channel of it. And you guys really took, you, I know it was a collaborative on that, but like you guys really did extraordinary work in putting this book together in a way that really wakes people up as they go through the book. And I just really wanted to highlight that to get started, that a lot of this a lot of what you're sharing is about a transmission, and that's what I really appreciate myself in reading the book. So I wanted to talk to you about that aspect. I mean, anything you'd love to share about leading into writing this book. What led you to the moment of like this coming to you to write this book and the way, and then transmitting it the way that you did? It's really beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you for recognizing about the transmission, Dan, because, I didn't one day sit down and say, oh, I think I'll create a new system of thinking, quantum think. It's really been my life's purpose, and uh, my mission. And I say it like this: my quest has been to have us, meaning humanity, go from merely knowing the wisdom, conceptually understanding it. Now it's available at the touch of any smart device, all the wisdom throughout, right, the millennia, to go from knowing it to actually living it. So that transmission part is really important. And so I've really been working on it my whole life, and the writing just kept coming through me. And as I advise, other people ask me about writing, and I say, some thoughts you have, right? And some transmission you have. And that is wisdom. And that's one of the chapters in part 1, which is called Wake Up. Why should I quantum think? I always think I'm a maverick. You want me to quantum think? Why? And so it really goes through a lot of that, the premise of quantum think, which I can get into. But that wisdom is like something undeniable that comes through each one of us in a unique way. And we know that truth first of all, it's infinite. Second of all, it's universal, but it comes through individually. And that's really the beautiful paradox of life. So that when you hear something, you can make a distinction between the chitter chatter, right? Of just, your opinions, your beliefs, what you heard in the news, repeating it in your head, or that undeniable wisdom, truth that is just coming through you. And so that's my quest and my intent for myself is to pay attention to that. So in getting to the book, Do You Quantum Think? And as you said, it's like I say in the book, I'm not telling you anything you don't know at some aspect of your being. If you didn't know it and or you weren't able to connect to it, then right, it wouldn't mean anything to you. So we're all connected to infinite source creator. We know that, which is infinite. When you say infinite, there's no way that we can put any kind of limitation on it. So when you're reading, or if you're watching one of my videos, any of it right now in this conversation together, the idea is that what's the transmission? Well, the transmission is that you're connecting to that awakening of awareness within yourself. Okay. So simultaneously, and this is one of the the most important, I would say, teaching of quantum think, is that because we've been brought up to think in an either or. And when you're quantum thinking, you're thinking from the foundation of the more expanded, more up to date and accurate reality, which is the ancient wisdom at the same time. So it's always paradoxical that way. But when you're quantum thinking, you're simultaneously the all that is, what we would say self with a capital S. And at the same time, you're playing this, whatever your soul, SOUL, incarnation is in this lifetime. And all the different roles you play and the idiosyncrasies and all the fun things about our characters, right? Your character self, like the master says, watches life like a movie, right? And just appreciating the characters in your life. So this is part of quantum thinking too. But I wanted to just bring out those 2 points. That one is that you're really connecting to your own awakened awareness. So when I use the word mind, I mean awareness, that individualized form of the all pervasive, all that is, infinite intelligence, infinite awareness, consciousness. And at the same time, so when I say mind, that's how I mean it. I don't mean just thought. And at the same time, this is what we want to do right now at this time of this, quote, great awakening for humanity in this evolutionary time that we're in, is to be able to fuse this together in our experience. And that's really the purpose of my work, is that you connect to yourself.
Right. Hallelujah. Is
what else is there, right?
Right. I mean, it does. It's an awake. It is that. I mean, I can remember, that one thing I told you when we talked before the interview was that one thing about we're always in one conversation. Okay. So there's this piece in the book that talks about we're always in one conversation. So the idea of, like, for me, okay, and then you can explain a lot better than me, but after I read about that, I started listening to my wife about something. Normally, like, I swear, we all do this to each other. Like, I swear, we're just like, I want to get a rise out of him. Okay, I'm going to say this thing, see what reaction we get. Right? She says something, consciously or unconsciously, trying to get a rise from me, right? And so she says it, and I'm just like, I just listening to her as though it's my voice. I was like, huh, smile. And she's like looking at me, it just like, people can't see me right now, but they're just like waiting. It's okay. We got a live one. Like, again, consciously or unconsciously. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, I was totally light at ease, relaxed. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then she just left. And normally I would say something and it'd be back and forth on that one little thing, right? So it's so profound, that one moment. And and it's like you're so used to listening the old way. It takes time to listen in new ways, right? To really be able to let go of the old ways that we think and listen. If that makes sense.
Yes and no. I mean, I know you like a debate, Dan.
Totally
So let
could be
me
wrong,
say,
but I'm just saying
it
that's what
actually doesn't take time because, and this is the idea of what I call the system. What is it? It's a system of 21 principles and practices for the mind and awareness. And so it is based in what does that mean? Because the premise, and I am going to roll back to what you brought up about it takes time. Because I say mastery is a moment by moment proposition. So in a sense, it's always instantaneous. But what happens is you have this system of principles, right? And the premise of quantum think, what I call my great revelation, is that we imagine, we think freely and independently. And of course, we do have the opportunity in every moment to choose and to think independently. But to the extent that we are conditioned, okay, so let me just say the premise simply. The premise is that our thinking is conditioned by the system based in the prevailing worldview. Everything in the unit, it's a universe of whole systems interpenetrating one another, okay? And so for the most part, in developed countries, at least societies, in modern culture, we have been influenced by what's called scientific materialism. And that was from the 17th century, a lot of genius. It gave rise to industrial age machines. And it was a separation kind of perspective on life, because it was like, I think of it as, okay, everybody was out wandering and then they got together and they said, wait a minute, let's settle down and organize. And we came up with, organizing the different sciences and the different, let's figure out, well, the scientists did say, apparently, like if we could figure out what is the nature of reality, but they meant physical reality. If we could reduce it and get it down to its low, the smallest constituent part, and figure out how these parts work together, then we could control, nature. And of course, when you think of that as a system, and as a thinking system, and that's why the scientists call it scientific materialism. It's also called the classical mechanical worldview. And I think of it as, well, maybe there's nothing wrong with us. It was just, that was the phase of evolution that we were in at that point, where we needed to organize outer life. But at the same time, now we're in this quantum age. Everything came in, including when you look in all the dimensions and you think the higher frequencies of light are coming in. So people have been opening up for quite a while, you could say, at least since the 60s, this is the dawning of, I can't really sing, but I try to. Aquarius, because that's what's happening right now. My avocation, as I say, I'm an avid student of astrology, because these energy trends that you learn from what the motions of the planets are very, very important all the time, but particularly right now in this shift. So anyway, when you look at how did this system of thinking shape the way we think? Well, in the physics, they said, the scientists declared only physical matter is real, probably to separate off from the clergy, the religion of the time. But when you think that's in the background, silent, and you think, how would that shape you? Well, in the physical dimension, we look separate, we look different, right? You're black, I'm white, she's yellow, he's green. And you don't even realize. And I say, maybe there's nothing wrong with us. We just got kind of conditioned by this separation consciousness. So you brought up with your wife, one of the 22 distinctions, I call it 21 plus 1, is being in one conversation, where when you become aware of these things and it's just distinguishing it, I distinguish it, brings it to the forefront of your awareness. And then you've got it in your awareness with that conversation with your wife. And then there's that awakening where you said before it would have been maybe a reactive, push the button, whatever you call it. And that is what causes the separation. So there are distinctions between us, but no actual separation. So the quantum reality is whole systems, holistic and holographic. The whole is contained in every smaller part of itself. Everything is interconnected and interdependent. These are things we know. That's why I'm saying to go from knowing it to living it. How does that happen? So the other part of it is that life is multidimensional. I call it living fully dimensionally is part of quantum thinking. And you move from the either or. Is it is energy a particle or a wave? No, it's both, and you can't know the totality of it unless you acknowledge both. So it's starting to think, when you think of a system as like a vortex. So quantum think is like that. It's like you walk, you go into the road system, and you're not, it's not random. There's a system. So if you want to get from New York to California, then you have a way of getting there by your own choice. But the system is embracing you to make it easy for you. So this is what happens. It's like learning a language. In the beginning, it seems like, what was this thing? What is that word? What's the translation? And then all of a sudden it pops, and you're thinking in that new language, and you don't have to translate or try to do, as I say, change the world one thought at a time. Can you imagine the agony of that? No, it's like when you get the system of quantum thinking, which, as I said, is already in you. I'm just distinguishing it so that it gets activated, and it is an activation first and foremost. So that's what happens. And then you realize, oh, wait a minute, just because I have a thought doesn't make it the truth. And you start to live in this state of mastery with yourself. And I think that's what's going on right now, Dan. I want to know, of course, what you think about, to me, this transitional time, this time when we're seeing a lot of the institutions that were formed under industrial age thinking. I lovingly call it old worldview thinking. That separation, only physical is real in the education system. We're not learning, the five natural faculties of mind. We're not learning about consciousness, intent, intuition, subtle energy, meditation. Now they're starting to do meditation a bit as a practice. That's good. But what are we learning about? The physical. We're learning about the brain. So all of these institutions that were born under the old world, industrial age worldview, this is what we're seeing now. It's a restructuring. Astrologically, it's Pluto and Capricorn 16-year cycle. It'll go into Aquarius in 2024. But you start to see the breakdown of these systems and structures that were born under good thinking, but limited thinking, and definitely too limited for this time. So when we talk about, going from the 3D to the 5G reality, this is what we're talking about. So instead of getting upset of what's going on, or, making Donald Trump into a villain, whether you like the personality or not, there's a role that everyone plays here. And he was, the great, what do they call it? When like the interference in these systems. And what's happening now is that things are getting pointed out. What needs to change? What do we need to think about in a new way? But the caution is, if we take sides, if we automatically go into the either or, liberal or conservative or progressive or this, or start to make people wrong, we're not actually living the wisdom. What is living the wisdom? The wisdom of the highest virtues of all, whether it's the teachings of Jesus, of Buddha and Muhammad, all the rest, in the highest state, where this is what is truly living in a state of self-mastery. So if we devolve even in the moment into well, he's evil, that's bad, let's get rid of, how do we get a new consciousness field, the higher field? How do we shift the field collectively? You brought up. It starts, of course, with each one of us. And we have to be, I would say, vigilant about our own thinking and make a distinction between a thought that automatically shows up from the surrounding thoughtosphere, I call it, and a thought that we would consciously choose, and be able to do that from the perspective of all perspectives, which means from that all that is higher self that we aspire to. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox now, but really, I'm passionate about it because it's so important. I know your audience is like an awesome individuals group and really wants to be able to, as you what you call, you don't call it light worker, you call it light leader. I love that that distinction, that expression, like leading the light. How do you do it? It's a transcendent state. That's what I think it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I agree. I agree. Absolutely. I mean, that's it. And absolutely. I mean, it's, yeah, we're going through this whole shift. And I do feel that as a collective, maybe it's just my perception, right? But from my perception, I feel like people are going through this awkward state of, wait a minute, let's double down on fighting, and we're the Hatfields and the McCoys and all kinds of, let's shoot them down. We're like, okay, are we supposed to do that? Isn't it the way we do these things? And like another energy exists that's saying, wait a minute, let's see from a higher perspective what's really happening here, right? I feel like we are collectively going through that. Looking at things from that viewpoint, we're very, very sparse. I think, whatever, even 50 years ago or whatever, like, I mean, it's very sparse, even 10, 20 years ago, it's a lot sparser than it is now. I think there is an expansion, and, my guidance, my spiritual guidance always showed me like the light's expanding on the planet, but boy, there's going to be a darkening too at the same time, because that's the way it works. That's the way it kind of shakes out. And at least that's what I've been shown anyway. So things are opening up, but we're confused because we're so used to the way you put it is with the either or, those sort, the old sort of thinking that is. And again, what I love, what you both share, what you share is that it isn't about getting rid of all the old ways. Like, oh, well, you can't think either or in any case. Throw all that out. That's the old stuff. Like so many people in this realm do that, right? They're like, oh, like we're going to talk about money, right? It's the same thing with money. Oh, money. Oh, that's nothing. Oh, no way. No money. It's all about abundance and wealth, and it means something else. And you only need 75 grand or less a year, and like all these concepts, right? It's either or, right? Everything fits in some container or box, and it seems like the more we're evolving, the more some of the old thinking wants to hang out. It's like, no, you don't forget about me, baby. Like that's kind of how I see it anyway.
Right. Well, you're bringing out, I love it, because it's again a paradox that's exactly right. If you go into the either or, you go, oh, industrial age thinking, that's no good. Let's go to quantum thinking. No, it's an expansion. We're expanding and we're evolving. And I say, evolution, two things, as you say, we don't really know anything, but we do know there is creation, and we do know there is evolution. And so I say we're going to evolve. What's it going to be? Crisis awakening or conscious awakening? And that is, for me, the evolutionary leap right now, is to consciously choose conscious evolution, and to know that it's it's up to us to be able to do it, because as you're saying, Dan, it comes out, and you and I like to talk about money, and it's a very, it's an important topic. It's, as I say in the first video of my Money Week video, money is central to life. People don't want to hear that because we're so conditioned to thinking, oh, money's not spiritual, or it's not, you're not virtuous if you want money, if you like money. And there's a lot of misunderstanding around money and what it represents. So yeah, it's like, how do we get to a new place in the way that we approach life, in the way that we think, so that we're not stuck with what I call, when I borrow this term from science, least action pathways. I learned it actually from I don't use it exactly the way the science uses it, but least, it's a hyphenated word, least action pathway. I learned it from my friend, good friend and mentor, Dr. Fred Allen Wolf, who wrote the foreword for Do You QuantumThink, and is just a wonderful, he's just an awesome, brilliant mind, quantum physicist and everything else. But anyway, so I went off on Fred for a minute. People might know him. He was in the movie What the Bleep Do We Know and The Secret.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got tons of books and he's brilliant. But, getting back to this least action pathway, the least creative action, the most mechanical action, the least consciously awakened action. So what I use that term is what keeps us from thinking from infinite possibility. Because if we really do create our reality, at least have a choice in how we relate to our circumstances, and in that choice and the meaning that we give that relation, that choice in how we relate to our circumstances, that gives us our experience. And experientially, in the feeling tone of our being, that creates our personal resonance. And we know, right? Resonance, there's sympathetic resonance that attracts. And that's like the key dynamic for manifestation. So what I've heard you talk on your shows, and that's a very important point about, what are we doing to elevate our frequency? But not just to elevate it in a moment, but to be able to establish ourselves in higher frequency. It does require being able to catch ourselves in a least action pathway. And what's a least action pathway? I say, blame it on the old worldview, right? The mechanical, whatever. When you think of a machine, right? You turn it, you set up the machine, you turn it on, it runs automatically unless something goes wrong. And then you put your attention on it consciously. So what, just using it to say, it's not to criticize any of us. In fact, I say there's nothing wrong with us. We're just in a new phase of human evolution, and it's all about evolution of consciousness. And that's like the most exciting thing that's going on now. But it does require responsibility in being able to say, to catch yourself when you're lowering your frequency. You're not doing it consciously, but it's happening because a least action pathway is visiting. We call it a thought comes in, right? We exist in fields. This is part of the quantum understanding of the nature of reality, is we exist in fields. The old worldview didn't really, in ordinary daily life, we didn't talk about, oh, we exist in fields. You and I are connected. We can, bring something in with our intuition. You say, right, you call in your guides, whoever you're talking, whoever you want to talk to, the archangels. But I do mean that seriously, even though I'm laughing, that we're able to connect in. We have that ability. Well, what are we connecting in through? We're connecting in through the field. So, or I should really, I probably more accurately said in the field. So I say there is of mind field. And so, since we're not actually separate from each other, we're distinct from each other. We're distinct in the physical from the objects around us. I mean, this is how we survive. The physical is very important. It is how we manage life on this planet, or at least manifest. But when you're in the physical, right? And you're thinking, like you going back to that conversation with you and your wife, that you're separate, but that's not the universal truth of reality. We're not separate. So we're not separate from the mind field. And I like to say, and I'm making this up, right? That the thoughts we have, they're not all, maybe they're not even yours. Or at least you could say you didn't choose most of the thoughts you have. How do you know? You can check this for yourself. If you have a thought that is giving you a less than desired experience within yourself or of another person, then you could say, I didn't, would you choose that, Dan? Of course not. So I didn't choose that. So therefore, is that really my thought? Do I really need to identify with every thought that happens to come into my surrounding thoughtosphere? No. And this is a very easy way to free yourself of any thought that has a negative influence on you. Is that another aspect of a quantum domain? Is that for ordinary daily life for us, there are no absolute realities. You could say source, creator, the eternal, that absolute. But for everyday life, what is it? We all know, right? Energy in flux, always moving, shifting, and changing, informed by intelligence, and conscious or not, more or less in various stage of awakened consciousness. And so you think, well, there's nothing fixed and solid. This is part of what's the old worldview saw objects as solid and fixed until Einstein came along, right? And figured out, oh, well, what we perceive as solid objects, and I think he's the one, he called it like frozen light. It's like ultra slow moving energy that seems fixed, but it really isn't. And that is like the best news, because if circumstances are fixed and absolute, there's nothing we can do about it, because absolute means like that for everyone, for all times, under any condition. But if things are in flux and we have been divinely bestowed by human birth with the ability to have some influence with our intent, right? The intent dynamic, that we can actually influence what's going on. That's like an amazing gift. Anyway, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, what seems frozen and fixed or not able to be shifted or changed in nature, absolutely can. I mean, I talk about things like, the silly things I'll do, like a light bulb's out. I probably talked about this on my show already before. Like light bulb's out. I'm like, I don't feel like getting a new light bulb. We don't have that light bulb. I have to go to the store. And then I just tap into it the way I'm able to and utilize basically what you're saying. Like, okay, all right, turn it back on. And by golly, it comes back,
Absolutely. Hey, Dan, did you ever, like, when you do that, and I do that sometimes too, I think, oh, come on, right? Please don't come on. Yeah. And you don't realize that we have that. Do you ever, like, sometimes I laugh out loud to myself because I think, okay, thank you. Or when something goes the opposite way, but it's not a terrible situation, you think, okay, I get it, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like, who are we talking to? Do you do that too? Were you laughing to yourself over it?
Oh yeah, laughing. I laugh at myself even when I've been super depressed at times. I'm just like, yeah, I feel like in the past, like I feel like like almost want to kill myself, but inside I'm totally catatonically depressed. But I'm like, oh my God, this is so amusing in a way. Like, like there's that part that's observing all the time, right? The higher awareness, and it always just is there. Just I always say it's always having a good time in a way. It's always like it's like, wow, this is all very interesting. Like it is. It's like it's watching that, like watching the movie, right? Almost like of what's happening in that particular scene. And there's like unlimited channels. It's watching so many different versions of you in the universe.
Right. That's good. Unlimited channels. That's true. But it is. And this is what I mean about being in that transcendent self. And, you're a walking, talking embodiment of that, example of that, where to be able to be in that state. So, what happens is that we never get stuck in that lower vibration. Honestly, I had that experience this morning that you're talking. I didn't want to kill myself, but I started feeling like, I don't know, one of those dips, dips. And I'm writing a new book, and it's called Luxurious Thinking. Luxurious Thinking. Anyway, but it's really about quantum thinking. And it has characters, and what you were talking about reminded me of it because, um, well, it's the seeker and the sage, and the seeker says, "Well, what are we supposed to be mastering?" And the sage says, Sachi Well, I'll tell you in the Sanskrit word, Sachi Dananda. And he goes, Sachi, what? Right? Like, what are you talking about? And then, she says, the guy is anyway, I gave away too much and I'm not finished with it yet, but it'll be good. Anyway, so, and I'm having fun writing it. But what you were saying reminded me because it's Sat Chit Ananda, existence, being, I always forget the words because they say it in different ways, existence, truth of being, and Ananda in Sanskrit, which is bliss. So that's the natural state. It's like who we are. So you could say, well, Dan, how could you feel so, despondent or even depressed on the outside in your imminent role of, right, Daniel J. Hanneman, right?
Yeah.
And at the same time, be able to enjoy it because we are that natural state of bliss. This is the wisdom. And it's not like somebody can just tell you the wisdom, getting back to looking at it. And you and I have mentioned this in one of our conversations, where you listen more deeply and you experience that bliss within yourself because it is ourselves. And everything is born from that. So this morning I did have that experience, and I was talking to Alan, my partner in all things, love of my life, and reflect back on, I'm thinking, when you're not, my mother does it too, right? My elderly mother. And she goes, if I say, any kind of limited thought, and my mother will say, Dianne, what about quantum thinking? She does. I say, okay, Mom, got it. And it's because you have these reminders around you. So but the thing about this morning is that I did have to immediately, snap out of it, girl, because I started to watch just what you said. I started to become the watcher. And this is being centered, which is also one of the distinctions in quantum think, where the practices become the watcher without being attached to the state you're in. So I would say, along the mastery path, going back to what you originally said, doesn't it take a while? Well, it doesn't because it's instantaneous, but it does because sometimes you have, that's the challenge of it, is along the mastery path, you get into that dread, like a state of, depression or dread or resignation or frustration or whatever it is, anger. And when you can just go deeply and know yourself in that divine state as the divine, and you literally can snap out of it, or as you said, you're looking at it, you're feeling it. So this is an interesting distinction because it's the both and. You can experience it emotionally, and yet you're in the transcendent state so that you can think, oh, okay, this too shall pass, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, with things changing so much, I think there's certain people that may be experiencing certain dips with finances and money in their businesses or in other ways. Might be other things, relationships, might be everything all at once sometimes, right? Oh
Right.
my love of my life, my triple flame walked out the door. My business is crashing.
Right.
I've got it. I'm ill. I'm like, it could be. I mean, it's incredible the things that we that show up in our lives, right? And all different varieties and all these different things with these challenges. And I know, like, because I wanted to drill into this a little bit for a few minutes before we wrap up today. Eventually, here is that I wanted to drill into the money one because there's a lot of talk about money now. Money is a system as well, right? I mean, I don't know how you look at it, but it's just like a system. We have the system. We use this money thing, to exchange, and a lot of light leader type of people, not as much maybe as people listen to the show, but a lot of them are like, well, forget about money, let's barter. Like that's an old system, like, which is fine. It's not wrong, but it's like, well, why don't we just barter, or why don't we just forget about money? And it isn't about money. It's about just being abundant. It is being in the bliss. Oh, I love when Dianne talked about it's about being in the bliss. That's what I heard in that. And let's just be in the bliss. And it's not about money, and it's got to be about everything but money, right? So like, I just want to help people. It's just about that, or it's always about something else in work that we're
Right.
doing. But it can't be about the money for the spiritual person. Often that comes up. So I see that all the time. Hey, how many people in this room have conflicts between spirituality and money? Every single hand goes up in the room, in a crowd. So we have this idea, it's either or. You're either for source and God or whatever your beliefs are and all that, or you're with money. Which one's it gonna be? Like, this has been given to us, in the collective consciousness. So, but what you say is like, you're direct. I love it. You say it really is about the money. So when you say that, and given everything I said, say, I'd love to respond to that too. But what do you mean by that? It really is about the money. I love it. I know what it means to me, but I love to hear what you got to say about that, because I love what I heard you say.
Okay, well, what happened is I was being interviewed on a summit, on a conscious wealth summit, by this wonderful woman who was a wealth consultant in New York to families. And we were doing the pre-interview, and she said, well, it really isn't about the money. It's really about, I said, oh no, it really is about the money. And that became the title of the, our session. And then eventually I developed, I have a master class called Master Your Mind, Master Your Life, with 4 themes, and it's 28 days. It's not really days, it's 28 videos. You do it on your own, but so each theme has 7 parts to it. And the money is called Mastering a Conscious Relationship with Money. Now, at the time that I was putting it together, and I'm going to this a little bit of a roundabout to get to this question, but I was putting it together and I thought, well, wait a minute, I'm not a billionaire. I'm not this. Who am I? I had the least action pathway around it, but I knew it was important to have a conscious relationship with money. We need to wake ourselves up around this. And I'll tell you some of the distinctions I made. But at first I went into, well, who am I? I don't have enough money to talk about money. But it's not about, I'm going to teach you how to make money. It's really making distinctions so that you free yourself to actually be with the money. And when I say be with the money, so the first part of it is money. And by the way, I made it into a mini free course, which maybe you can put the link at the on your podcast, because it's now on Udemy, like an hour and a half. I took some of it and made it a free course, The Conscious Relationship with Money, Money in the Seven Dimensions, this is how I got to it. So money is central to life. Being that, and I say everything, if you look in the seven dimensions that I distinguish in QuantumThink, it's an infinite possibility universe. You could distinguish any number of dimensions. I use these seven: physical dimension of, body and physical, obvious. The energetic dimension of subtle energy and everything related to that. The virtual dimension of mind and consciousness and all extensions, including the internet. The spiritual dimension of heart, where we experience our interconnectedness and that, ultimate knowingness. The cosmic dimension of the natural principles and laws that are operating throughout the universe and therefore within you and me. The esoteric dimension of soul, prophecy, evolution, and everything to do with that. And then the divine dimension, the ultimate mystery, source of everything and mystery beyond mysteries. So I look at money in these seven dimensions, because everything in life, every aspect of life has participation in each of those dimensions. So when you're quantum thinking, you're thinking, I call it living fully dimensionally. You know that everything, all these dimensions are present all the time. So when you're looking at money, and let's go back, you said about barter system. Well, it is because I think of it, to shorten it, that the soul comes in, and the soul, and this is where the mystic arts, numerology, human design system, I'm into astrology in particular, where you have a soul blueprint, which is, okay, so there's destiny plus free will. These are the tendencies that your soul, who knows how you got there, maybe your soul picked, maybe it was picked for you, but you came in with these qualities, with these gifts, with these potentialities that you can live through. And an aspect of that is what there are clues to it, because it's what you're attracted to, what you're passionate about, what you're turned on about doing, and it changes through your life, but there's a basic essence to who each one of us are. So you come in and you're going to be creating something. Now, because we live in a monetary-based society, okay, so that creative energy that comes from your soul, that manifests your product, service, or contribution to the rest of the world, we exchange that. And because of the complexity and how many people there are and how many, infinite things being created all the time, we had to have a representation of that, okay? So it is an energetic, and in the energetic dimension, money is an exchange of value, because in the energetic and subtle energy, you can feel when something is right. Like, how do you know how much something costs? I say I have, as a coach, let's say, or right, as a light leader, or whatever your particular profession is. How do you know how much to charge? Because you'll feel it. There's a certain rightness to it, and that has to do with the energetic exchange. Or if you're in a relationship, where you don't feel it's an equitable exchange, you feel that too. So you want to be able to balance that out. So when you start to look at money as the creative essence that divine creator gave each of us in our soul's journey to come into this incarnation, to manifest and create and exchange that and contribute that into the world and get remunerated for it in the form of whatever the form of money is now. It's becoming more and more digital, and it will be totally that. And maybe who knows if it ever goes out of existence. I don't see that exactly. But when you start to live fully dimensionally in your relationship with money, the way that I'm talking about it, I'm not going to go through all of it, all the dimensions right now, but then your hope, and I hope it's happening right now, not I hope, my intent is whoever is listening to this right now, that your relationship with money is shifting right now. So that when and I use these examples, you look in a store window, we haven't been doing that lately, right? But you look online, whatever, and everything, or just around in your room, every single thing that we are using right now, the clothes we're wearing, the computer, everything, the microphone, that thousands and millions of people, their talent has contributed to the enjoyment that we get in every moment of our life. And I mean, that is something to be so deeply grateful for. And when you start to see that that's what money represents, other people's creative essence that ultimately, fundamentally comes from divine source, then how could you be against money, right? I mean, this is one way of looking at it. Right. And I'd like to give one practical thing if I could, but if you want to respond to what I'm saying right now.
I mean, I love that. I love that context. I mean, that's wow. I mean, I have the opportunity to energetically acknowledge and then receive someone's creative essence in a way. I mean, like in whatever form it takes of what they're sharing with you, right? And to acknowledge that. And I love the way you said it. There's different ways of presencing these things. I love that. And to be able to celebrate that. And I always tell people, like, with their services, when they get shy about charging more or whatever the case, or even receiving sales in the first place, it's like, it's a joy for people to invest their energy in something. It's you're if you don't give them an opportunity, you're actually taking opportunities away from people at the same time. So I always say we're all doing enough things for free. All right. So you need to let people invest too.
Right. I mean, it's something about, like, it feels good, or whoever within conditioned cultural least action pathways around money. But this is what we're in, the time of awakening. So, like, when I say it really is about the money, we once took, we were doing this, it was an in-person coaching kind of seminar, I would say, with a group of married couples who were entrepreneurs who wanted to take their business to new levels, like you want to make $10 million next year or whatever. And so I realized there was a mismatch, right? When we talk about resonance, sympathetic resonance, if you want to make a certain amount of money, and let's face it, there's so many great things that you can do with money at a contributory level. Like, people say, well, why do you need that much money? Okay, because you can use money to help people,
Right.
to help the world, to invest in things, to become an entrepreneur, to invent something. So many good, great things that you can use money for the good. So it's good. It's, it's something goodness. Anyway, I tell the story in the videos too, but what I did is we live in South Florida. So we went on this weekend to Palm Beach, one of the richest, cities in the world, probably. And we stayed at this hotel on Worth Avenue. It's the main shopping street in Palm Beach, appropriately named, right? And it was for that purpose, because what you want to do is you want to actually feel in the feeling tone of your being. It's not just emotional. It can be emotional, but it's more in the personal resonance, in the feeling, that depth of your resonant tone. What frequency is going on, like in the automatic, least action pathway maybe of it, in your relationship with money. So because if you have a monetary goal, but your frequency isn't matching up, obviously it's going to be like, right, the foot on the accelerator and the brake proverbial at the same time. So we took these people and I said, okay, now go out, go window shopping on Worth Avenue and just see, ask about the products and see how you feel when you're doing this, or when you go online, or if you're having, dinner in a restaurant and you're looking, what is going on when you look in, your bank transactions, balances, whatever, your investments. And to just be able to get in touch with that feeling tone, and just to notice that if you're uncomfortable with it, that you can get free of that. If you see it just as, oh, that's my least action pathway about money. By the way, I didn't mention this, but the least action pathway, for the purpose of saying, oh, that's just a least action pathway. Don't give it any meaning. We don't care where it came from. You'll never know how it got there anyway. You could make up any story about it. It's totally irrelevant in the mastery practice of quantum thinking. What's relevant is what is my experience right now in this moment, right? Every master practice, being in the moment. So when you notice that you have a least action pathway, and I don't put anything out that I haven't experienced myself, because I noticed years ago that I was uncomfortable going into a store. Can I afford that? And I wanted to free myself from that. And this is how I did it. So now I'm, sharing this with our clients, customers, whoever will listen, Dan, because you can free yourself. And then this is all these things to get, I say, be as comfortable with money as you are with the sky. You don't have any judgments about the sky, right? It's like, oh, sky, it's infinite, right? And I remember once here, I went to see with Alan, if I hear of some, enlightened spiritual self-realized being, let's call it that, who comes into town, if I can, I like to go and be in their presence. And I remember once going to the Maharaji, I'm not sure how exactly pronounce his name. And he was talking about that they needed a jet for the organization, and a jet plane. And he said, he was telling the story, his student said to him, well, where are we going to get the money, Maharaji? And he said, wherever it is.
Exactly.
Right? Wherever it is. Because for him, It was like there was no limit. He
Exactly.
knew we're going to get the money because we need the jet plane. But anyway, so these are just some of the little things. And I don't know how much time we have left, but I did
Oh,
have
yeah.
one other. Hmm?
Yeah, we do want to start wrapping that up for sure. So, but I love that. It's so true. And when I work with people on money, and when I'm working on myself, it's just that awareness, that waking up, like, oh yeah, you just decide that you're gonna have it, and then it just comes. It just comes when you're really clear and you have that resonance, like you said. You're like, yeah, I'll have that. It just really feels true. So it just comes to you. It'll even, like, you may not even put money down for certain things. I was talking about my restaurant stores. We talked about a couple of them. They just bring me whatever it is that I've said yes to. Really, I was really saying yes to. They'll just bring it to you. I mean, it does work that way. To say now, if you try to play games with it a lot, and you're just playing all these little games, eventually it won't work so well because now you're in some weird state, right? So, it's like that with money. It's like we make such a big deal of money. Whatever it is, if it really is that true to you, and it's that resonant for you, it's going to come right into your experience. There's just no two ways about it. It's going to work.
Right. And this
Yeah.
is what it is to be conscious. I just do want to say this one last thing about this, about creating a conscious relationship with money, that and a lot of people who are light leaders already know that it's a two-way relationship, right? It's at least two ways. And so I thought, one of the videos, what do we want from money and what does money want from us?
Mhm.
And a lot of people who heard this, and again, this is in my free, I'm promoting it a little because I really feel this is such an important topic. And that's why I put that free course on Udemy, conscious relationship with money, and it's money in the 7 dimensions. And I put a bonus thing in there. They asked you to do that, which is this: what do we want from money? What does money want from us? Well, we want freedom, security, and prosperity. I'm sure no one would disagree with that. Freedom, security, and prosperity. What does money want from us? Management. Well, the first one is appreciation, management, and protection. So appreciation has a double entendre in money matters because it means making it grow. And it also means appreciating it, like just grateful appreciation. Appreciation, management, and protection. And I think that's where, and I'll tell you, I learned from just editing my own, doing, having this come through me, and I had to watch it 1,000 times to do the edit. And then all of a sudden, I started thinking, Dan, you know what? I think I better review my insurance policies. It's like right now we're in a time of practical, all these Capricorn planets that everyone knew, last year in 2020, so many planets in Capricorn. Well, Capricorn is the practical, it's the black and white, it's the structure of things, it's the stuff that manifests. And it's business, it rules business, so if you want to be serious about, and it's rules, responsibility, and seriousness too. That's a couple of the key words for Capricorn. And Pluto is still in Capricorn in Western astrology. Anyway, if you want to be serious about your profession and the service that you're giving to humanity, well, and to your clients, get it on a personal level, then this is a part of being in business, is being responsible for your relationship with money. And it's just a really, I know you and I are so in accord on this because we know how much happier you can be with it and how much freer. And as you say, Dan, it's like if you're start taking it seriously, which I used to buy insurance and, different insurances. And I think, I'm not interested in this, is giving too much on the air here, but I would think, yeah, it's too complicated. I don't have to read every word of every policy. That's why I'm, trusting the insurance agent to do that. And then I started realizing, well, wait a minute, I better take a look at these policies. And you know what? I was able to have so many transformations just from thinking of management, right? Money wants appreciation, management, and protection. I keep it in a little sticky on my desk to remind myself. And, everything that's going on with investing now, and younger people are totally getting into it. The COVID, everybody went home and they all started. I watch a lot of these videos, these stock guys. I'm into it myself. And it's a whole different mindset now in terms of all the different ways that people can generate income. But it's, again, getting to, the audience for your spiritual rock star. I love the name. It's like that we need to be part of being responsible for our gift that comes through us. Our mission, our passion is to take care of that financial aspect of it as well.
Yeah, 100,000%. That's what's going to allow us to rock on in a big way,
Right.
we want to be rocking in a big way. And I love what you shared with all that. And we could go on forever. I just want to say one last thing on it, and it's just that what you said really speaks to a lot of the light leaders here, that we want to be more with things that we tend to continue to, at least action pathway, to use your words, tend to not want to be with sometimes, when we could be perfectly fine being with them if we just get past all that interference, all that I might call it resistance, right? So like, okay, just take your time, just read through the details on this, and because that's where a lot of money is lost sometimes. It's just oh, whatever, and it's so, yeah. So there's a lot there, and I'd like you to hold another hour on that, but there's so much more to gain, and that's why we have we're going to put the link in for the free course, so that people can go ahead and check that out. Do you want to go ahead and tell them just briefly about that gift again, and we'll put the link in the show notes?
Yes. Do you want me to say the link, or you just want to put it in? Because actually I made a bit.ly link. But
Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead. I didn't have that yet, so you can go ahead and share.
Oh, yeah. But it is, I'll just give the link real quick. It's, if people are familiar with bit.ly, B as in boy, IT as in Tom, .ly/money free course. And I think I did it two ways. So it's money free course, just all one, or money-free course, but it's bit.ly/money free course. And it's, it's excerpts. The first part of it is money is central to life, and it's an excerpt from my big course to help you to get free, like what I was talking about. Get free of the grip that you're thinking it's not important, it's not this, I shouldn't pay too much attention to it, or it's not virtuous or spiritual. To free yourself of that. That's a little video on that. And then I do have an excerpted from my interview with the Conscious Wealth. I put some pictures over it because it was an audio that I made into a video, so that you can hear our dialogue. She was asking me about, it really is about the money and why I say that. And then the third part of it is money in the 7 dimensions. So what I was talking about, I go through it in the full, I think I put almost the full part of that in from my big course, Money in the 7 Dimensions, to take yourself through a new relationship with money more consciously by seeing it in all of its 7 dimensions. And then I had, as I said, that extra, they call it a bonus, what I was talking about just now. What does money want from us? You know, what do we want from money, and what does money want from us? So that is the last video in it. And it's, again, I invite everybody to watch it, because I know that you will have an experience of freedom with money when you do watch it. It's about, all totaled, I think, 1.5 hours. So anyway, thank you for letting me share that, Dan. And thank you so much for having me to be a guest on this amazing podcast of yours, and to be with you, which is the most important thing here, and your treasured audience. Thank you so much.
Your thing, my pleasure. Everybody check that out, and then they can get the book too. We want to tell them about where they can get the
Oh
book?
yeah, the book, the book, the book. Let me just, can I show the book for a minute?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Why not? Do you quantum think? New thinking that will rock your world. Anyway, I'm gonna say it's a big book. That's why I say read it slowly. Part 1, wake up. Part 2, oh, you can live the wisdom, quantum thing. It's the whole total system. And it's meant to be read slowly. You can get it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. Most people get it on Amazon. It was a little bit out of stock for the last 4 weeks. Which I wasn't thrilled with the publisher and distributor on that. But now I just see it's back in stock, so you can get it. At the moment, it's in hardcover and Kindle and Apple Books, ebooks. So you can get that.
Wonderful. Do you
Yeah.
quantum think? All right. Absolutely. I love it. So you're going to love it all. I've been watching the course a little bit too. It's fun. It's, it's got fun energy in it, and it's not one of those dry, boring courses or something. So check that out. And I know that I'm looking forward to going through it myself. So Dianne, this time of the show where I just take a minute or two to tune in your energy and share some things that are coming through that want to be shared for you. Are you
Great.
receive? Okay, awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you. What a gift.
Okay, awesome. All right. All right, so let's just tune in for a moment. It is showing me the like the princess sort of queenship sort of energy in you. So you will always do best when you're in that sort of energy. You know what I'm talking about. No, it's not an egotistical thing. It's just the energy that you carry. So it's where you're most effective. It's where you're going to be most connected and all that stuff, right? So it's just like, okay, this needs to be taken care of, that needs to be done, and let people like come and serve you in a way, like just really come to you and serve you. And um, that is such a critical aspect of your being is what I'm really, really pick up on. So I know you've got a good bit of that already happening, but it's always a good reminder to take that deeper. Let me see what else is coming through. um yeah, it's like, I know it sounds crazy maybe to some people, but it almost helps people that are serving you. It's like they're receiving a transmission by being of service to you. Like they're getting a grace by serving, by when they feel, I mean, you don't have control stuff going in this regard, right? We all got our control stuff, but in this regards, but like people come and they're getting a grace. Like and this is true for other people too, but like you've got it going on for sure. But like it's going to bring blessings to them by serving you, like just without you doing anything. Just there's a grace that's happening that transmits in the field by them being of service to you. Okay, all right. Let's see if we get another one or two. Well, they want me to share a little something quick about the money stuff. So they're just showing me that there's like a pile of money in front of you, and like there's so much, and um, there is a feeling of a little separation, a little bit of like, I want to dive into that money, but what is it? It's like I'm a little bit concerned about it though. Like, so I'm wondering if there's like, if I could say it's like, there's like, is there a booby trap in there? So like, so being careful and discerning about what you're doing when it comes to your energy, and therefore how you're serving, and therefore how you're letting the money come in. So, um, so there's a lot more. The good news is there's a lot more that's there, but there's a little bit of a concern in the energy about, is there a trap? You know, is there a trap in it? And that could, you know, like, yeah, can this like like you wouldn't want to be controlled by it, for example, or something like the idea like I want to make all this money, like that kind of energy, right? So there's a number of things, but I'll leave it at that for now. And let's see if I can get one more. Um, I don't know. Okay, so the way it's coming to me now, this is just how I'm hearing it, may not be totally accurate. I'm getting something about 7 volumes. So that quantum thing somehow is going to have like something like 7 volumes or something like that. So it comes through that way. So there's something about 7 volumes, and it seems to have to do with quantum think. So I just share the bits and pieces that come through during these real quick ones, but that's another one.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So, and there's always more, but that's what I have to share. So, yeah, quick thoughts or reflections.
Yeah, I do. I was going to say, can I respond to that a
Yeah.
minute? Well, it was interesting the first two because, well, the princess thing, you know, everybody, I like to dress up. And everyone in my who knows me, they say, oh, she always looks like she's going somewhere. I mean, I like, you know, that's me. But because what you were saying about letting people serve me, it's like I have a Virgo sun, which is service, and I'm always looking to see how can I serve. Okay, so Alan, my husband partner, he's always telling me it's like I haven't developed that even in my money course. I call it how's your receivability, how's your givability and receivability. That my givability is a higher than my receivability. So it was enlightening for me to hear that. And then when you said about the next part about the money, it really is, you know, life is holographic. It's like that, what you had insight into, which I really appreciate because I can feel the shift in myself already, Dan, that it was the same thing, only in the area of money, right? Because I'm having fun with managing money and, you know, investing and all these things that I'm doing now. And maybe there still is that like receivability. I need to up my receivability in all areas. I think that's it.
Yes.
So
Hallelujah.
thank you.
And so it is. And so it is.
Oh, and this, yeah, and the 7. Well, that's as interesting to me because I'm writing this book and I call it episodes instead of chapters because it's supposed, you know, you and I like to have fun. We like entertainment. We like to have fun. And so that's how I write, you know, in the videos and everything, try to make it into not try, but intent for entertainment. And it came out, what came through is 7 episodes, but I'm trying to rush to get it finished. So I thought, maybe I'll just make it 5. So when you just said 7, I thought,
No, that's where
okay,
I don't always know
I heard it. What?
reference sometimes in these quick ones, but I just share what comes through. So I'm glad I did.
Yeah, very good. Excellent. Thank you so much for that gift.
Sure thing, sure thing. And if people want to check me out, you can go to yoursacredpurpose.com, and there is an opportunity to get an energy scan there. You can see the details on that there. And then there's also my free meditate and make money meditation, which helps to just get you connected, open up your energies a little bit, your chakras, and allow yourself to receive energy and information through an inquiry process, just to receive the transmissions. And I just love to keep sharing the good news that people are, I'm hearing in some cases, are making more money, just they attribute it to the meditation. So check it out at yoursacredpurpose.com. Get your free meditate and make money meditation. All right, so we're at the close of the show. I'm just so grateful that you've come on the show. Could talk for hours, and yet we got to come to a close for today. Anyway, we're talking with each other. So Dianne, just thanks again so much for coming on the show, and thank you for our listeners for listening in today.
My pleasure.
All right, everybody, you keep on tuning in, and we'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Goodbye till next time.
You're listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.